Hurricane Melissa in the Southeast Bahamas at the moment, and then taking a nonstop whisper line jet service to Bermuda for Thursday. Meanwhile, we've got our own storm system that's gathering a bit of momentum in the Tennessee Valley, and that's going to bring rain and some wind, a little coastal flooding, and then gusty winds on Friday. But looks like we're going to have a pretty good weekend. So let's talk about all of this tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast if you'd like. Use our link to Amazon that's on the descriptor to this podcast. It's very easy. Just use that link to get you to Amazon to do your shopping. Amazon throws us a little bit of coin for sending you there. You don't pay 1 extra cent out of your own pocket. And that way, the live show stays commercial free. And we appreciate very much, as a number of you have used it, and we appreciate it very much that you use our link to shop on Amazon. And Tempest by Weatherflow. If you need a weather station, especially if you want to make it a Christmas gift for somebody, get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Enjoying the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. If you live in an apartment in the city, you could put it out on your fire escape and just pray that nobody comes and gets it. The link for this tonight is pinned to the top of the chat board, and it's also on the descriptor to this podcast on YouTube. And there's a special Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast coupon code that only Joe Rayo knows.
Well, now everybody's going to know. The code is Autumn 2025, and if you use that code, you're going to get something very special, aren't you, Joe?
Yes, 10% off.
Yes.
That means you get 10% less of a weather station. No, I'm kidding. You get the whole weather station. They take 10% off the bill. So there you go. Okay. Melissa is in the Bahamas. It's a Cat 2 now. It's probably not going to strengthen from here. It's probably going to weaken a little bit, but still be a hurricane when it passes near Bermuda later tomorrow and tomorrow night. And then out it goes. And in the meantime, we're still on course to get socked with a bit of rain here for tomorrow, for Thursday.
I think it's going to be a little bit more than just a little rain. I think we'll see at least an inch. Some are talking about maybe 2 inches. We are going to see the heaviest amounts of rain, though, come during the afternoon, and the afternoon drive tomorrow, Joe, I don't think is going to be very pretty at all.
Griller G, nobody said nor'easter here. Who said anything about a nor'easter? I don't know. Just putting it out there. This is an inland low that's running up the Appalachians. There'll probably be a bit of a secondary on the triple point between the occluded front, the warm front, and the cold front. And sometimes those triple points can, if they pass overhead, can get a little crazy. And that's why it'll probably be a few places, like you said, maybe may get up to 2 inches or a little bit more. There might even be some convection, maybe a thunderstorm or two in the mix. I mentioned it.
I think, it'll be mostly a frontal complex coming north into a huge high-pressure cell north of us and causing a tightening pressure gradient and also causing a burst of heavier precipitation, showery rains, maybe a thunderstorm or two. And again, the worst that I think, Joe, is going to come between 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. During that 6-hour time frame, probably at least an inch, maybe an inch and a half, maybe in some cases 2 inches. Doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot, but when you jam that much precipitation into such a short time frame, there is a chance, especially in areas of poor drainage, of seeing some flooding issues. So we'll be looking at that tomorrow.
And the radars are kind of busy tonight in the Ohio Valley. Joe, if you would, you could do some local radars. Everybody loves when we do Rayo's radars.
Oh, okay. I didn't anticipate.
I see you're thrilled about it.
Well, I didn't anticipate it, but I can.
Well, I didn't either. It just occurred to me. This way, you get to talk for a little while. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board, and welcome to those of you who are watching us in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays are off days for us, unless there's a storm around. Because if there is, we add a show and we'll let you know. And you can find out by turning your notifications on so you don't miss us. And if you like the show, because we've been running a good streak here of 100 likes. So if you like the show, by all means, bang the like button because it makes us happy. By the way, we are not going to be on this Sunday. Okay, so there'll be no show this Sunday, taking a day off. And so after tomorrow,
So we're
which
like
is,
good. We're going to be like the Jets.
well, yeah, we'll get a bye.
Yeah,
For the
exactly.
Jets, it's a victory. But although they did win last Sunday, um, it's got to be awful though when you're like 0-6 and 0-7, and you're playing against them, and you're a team that's got a record uh, with some wins in it, and you wind up losing to somebody who hasn't to a team that hasn't won a game. You can't possibly go home and be happy with something like that.
Well, in 1962, the Mets had an 0-9 record, and they were playing the Pittsburgh Pirates, who were 9-0. And who would you thought would have won that 10th game? Certainly would have been the Pirates lost, and they lost their first game after a 9-game winning streak to the Mets. So I guess the same thing for the Cincinnati Bengals. They must have felt kind of losing to the Jets, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Uh,
If you turn your sharing on, I'll be very happy to.
sure. Well, let me just do a couple of things before that. Okay.
Okay, all right.
So hang on just a second. Oh, there you go. Okay. Uh, yeah. I'm thrown off by the fact that uh, Ruben Fairchild's having a meltdown because we're not having a show on Sunday. And then, of course, if we did have a show on Sunday, he wouldn't show up anyway. So there you go. Uh, let's take a look at just some of the watches, warnings, and advisories are up. But there are coastal flood advisories up in and around the waters of New York City, Long Island. We have advisories up for coastal New Jersey down into the Delmarva Peninsula and into eastern Virginia. It's minor coastal flooding that's being forecast for most of these areas. There might be the odd place where maybe the water gets a little higher, and you might want to call it maybe low level moderate flooding. But I don't think it's going to be much worse than that because at least we're sitting in a good place when it comes to the moon phase. Wind advisories are up in Arkansas, Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, and a good chunk of Texas. We also have freeze warnings and frost advisories in West Texas, up into Oklahoma and Kansas, and northwest Missouri, and also a few wind advisories in parts of Montana, and a small uh, number of counties in Southern California near the coast where we have heat advisories up. So there you go. And we'll check out. This is what the surface looks like. Here's our developing low in western Tennessee. You can see the occluded front. That's when the cold front catches up to the warm front and overtakes it, so it becomes occluded. So the air on either side of the front is really not that different, but there is a distinct wind shift that occurs, and it's at that triple point. And you see where the three fronts meet. That eventually we might see a little secondary low that forms tomorrow somewhere in Virginia, and that'll be the catalyst for some of the heavier rain and maybe even some of the convection. Uh, I'm in North Georgia where the weather is utterly miserable. I mean, when I say miserable, I mean miserable. It did not get out of the 40s today. I'm at the high. I was just at the high of the day, which was 48, down to 47, and it's been raining pretty much all day long here. The last couple of days here in North Georgia, it's been miserable. High pressure still kind of wedged in here in the Northeast, down into the Mid Atlantic, so that's trying to hold off this oncoming low, but it will not succeed as it heads up to the northeast. At least at 5 o'clock on the map, temperatures were in the 50s across much of the northeast, and in fact, much of the mid Atlantic and southeast, down into most of Georgia and into eastern Tennessee and Kentucky. So we're talking, cold rain here in a lot of spots. And here's a satellite loop tonight. There's Melissa. Doesn't look anything like it did yesterday. Briefly formed the eye again last night as it was approaching the south coast of Cuba. So it got a little stronger before it made landfall, but it nowhere even remotely close to what it was when it hit Jamaica. But it was still a Cat 3. And now a Cat 2 and moving steadily northeastward through the Bahamas. And next stop tomorrow will be the island of Bermuda, where apparently all storms go there. For some reason, that has been the case for the last several years. And here's the big rotation in the Ohio Valley, a very well-defined upper low and shortwave that is sitting here in western Tennessee and just sort of swirling away. And you see that arm that goes down through Georgia and into the Gulf of Mexico. That's the front that's going to essentially whip its way up the eastern seaboard tomorrow and push all this moisture on up to the northeast. Clouds are starting to move in. We also have some low clouds that are coming in from the east that's actually been in southeastern New England for much of the day, and that's extending its way southwestward. Again, that's all thanks to that onshore flow. And as I said, on the radars, and Joe's going to take you on some of these local radars here, but you can see a lot of rain tonight in the Ohio Valley and into parts of the interior Mid-Atlantic. Also seeing a little bit of rain just offshore. But Mr. Rayo has got the local radars, so we will go to him now, and he will take you on a tour.
And I don't know how.
And I see that you're sponsored.
Yes. Somebody on the chat board said tonight's radars are sponsored by Wikis, and Cecilia Hernandez didn't know what Wikis were. So I said, well, we have to get her in on what's going on here. So Wikis, the breakfast of chumps, messy, untoasted, half-cooked flakes, and that, of course, Wikis, they come from generally moldy foods. So there you go.
General moldy.
Yes, yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, that is Wikis. All right, so let's go to the radar, and I do believe I have the first radar up here. Let me just get back to sharing capabilities. And we will share. Yes, and here we are. This radar happens to be from Cleveland, Ohio, and it's showing the northern edge or the northern fringe of the precipitation that will be moving into the New York City tri-state area probably after midnight tonight. And you can see that the precip seems to be moving generally on a south to north trajectory. They do have in Ohio, northern and central Ohio, reaching into northwestern Pennsylvania, light to maybe even moderate rainfall. That's again from that frontal complex, the inland storm, and eventually the warm front, the cold front, and the occluded front, the triple point spot, which is not too far away actually from where Joe is down in the southeastern states. As that moves northward, it may cause a storm to evolve on it, and that will eventually come into our area tomorrow afternoon and evening and bring us the risk of, again, moderate to heavy precipitation, showery rains, and maybe even with that developing low pressure system, a couple of thunderstorms as well. So that's the radar from Cleveland. And if we go further south, let's say down to Charleston, West Virginia, or Charlie West, as we used to say back in the days when I was at the College of City. We had a weather station there, and we used to refer to Charleston, West Virginia as Charlie West. In any case, you can see that there is rain falling across West Virginia, also across parts of Kentucky and southern sections of Ohio as well as areas of northern Virginia. And some flashes of yellow there, indicating moderate to maybe even heavy rainfall. If we go further south, let's say go down to Raleigh-Durham, not really all that much there. A lot of the precip is back further to the west, if you will. So that having been said, let's go to a place like Knoxville, Tennessee, and you can see again a lot of this moisture heading northward, south to north area, and cutting across most of eastern sections of Tennessee into eastern Kentucky, southwestern sections of Virginia, and western North Carolina. That again is where most of the precipitation is, to our south and to our west. We go to Atlanta, Peachtree City, and their radar is showing areas of light to maybe even moderate rain, especially over northern and central sections of Georgia, although Atlanta proper is seemingly is out of it for the moment. But here's some precip show that might be in your vicinity.
Yep.
You might be seeing some rain and shower activity right now going on. And let's see, let's go over to over into Missouri, St. Louis, and this is interesting. Here in St. Louis, you can see where the moisture is going. This moisture is moving initially out of a northeast direction, northeast to southwest, and then all of a sudden here we see this one area over St. Louis broadening out. I think actually what they're doing is that they're changing the altitude of the radar mast, and that's why they're getting into a different configuration and why everything seems to suddenly blossom out in the final few frames of the loop. But you could see that there's moisture out there as well. And one more trek. Let's go to Milligan, Tennessee, and in Milligan, you see that actually you can see almost a counterclockwise circulation. The moisture moving across portions of northeastern Arkansas, moving from north to south, and actually you can see the curve sweeping around into northern sections of Mississippi. So the storm that causing all this is probably off to the north and east over in the Ohio Valley area. And again, all of this is moving on a northerly trek and will be affecting us here in the New York tri-state area during the day tomorrow, especially later tomorrow and on into tomorrow evening. And again, some of that moisture tomorrow could be on the heavy side. Joe?
Well, here's my sponsor, Joe. Milk Dads, which is perfect for Halloween coming up. Get some Milk Dads. Candy for compulsive borrowing teens. Net weight 25 lone bucks. And
Yeah.
on the backside panel, it says 30% less back. So there you go. Milk Dads for for Halloween. All right, the Storm Prediction Center. Our friends there have a marginal risk overnight in southeast Virginia and eastern North Carolina, and that's that front that's kind of whipping its way up the eastern seaboard. It's one of these odd situations where the front is actually coming in from the southwest rather than from the west or northwest, but that sort of stuff happens when you have a deepening low going tracking up the Appalachians like this one is. Now tomorrow, SPC has a marginal risk for severe weather in southern New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, and eastern Virginia and easternmost North Carolina, and it has a 2%, so not non-zero, a 2% probability that there could be an isolated tornado spinning up here and there. So just beware that I wouldn't be surprised if we get some isolated severe
I,
thunderstorms. I actually wouldn't be surprised if we push that green line from central New Jersey a little bit further north and east when it comes tomorrow.
I think we will get into that zone tomorrow. Again, during that 2 to 8 p.m. time frame, I could see a risk of marginal thunderstorm activity, marginal severe weather, even up here. There are signals there, Joe, that there's going to be a lot of lift and there's going to be a lot of significant energy going on through during the latter part of the day tomorrow, and we could very well be in line for some significant precipitation as well as some very strong gusty winds to over 30 and 40 miles an hour.
Yep. WPC on their rainfall, they're actually forecasting more rain for areas inland. A little bit of a shift here from what they were doing because of how the low is tracking and the questions about whether you're going to get that secondary on the triple point. But let's just say in general, if you're in from Northern Virginia back to West Virginia. Now, some of this is falling now, Ohio, northeastward up through New England and into Atlantic Canada. A general area of an inch to 2 inches. And again, if you get into convection, some local areas could wind up with a bit more. Starts to tail off a bit in the southeast, with the exception of the mountains, and that includes me, with another half an inch to as much as an inch possible there. Also along the Gulf Coast, the immediate Gulf Coast from the Florida Panhandle to the Texas coast, anywhere from a half inch to as much as an inch. Some heavier rain in the Pacific Northwest and continuing on into southwest Canada. So here's what everything looks like on the surface. You have one storm, by the way, that's east of, well to the east of Cape Cod, of New Jersey, I'm sorry, well to the east of New Jersey, that's running out ahead. And then you have this second low that's in western Tennessee. And then, of course, you have Melissa kind of squeezed in the middle. I think the reason why, the way this thing is timed out, the reason why this is an inland low is Melissa is in the way. And it's creating enough ridging in between that it's forcing this low, instead of coming eastward and maybe moving offshore or redeveloping offshore and running up the coast, it's going to run up inland. So Melissa is the reason why this is not going to be a coastal storm and a nor'easter.
What was the other hurricane that was doing that earlier this season, some weeks ago, serving as kind of a block? Remember?
Oh, when we had what was it with Imelda, and what was the other one? The one that was it the H storm? Umberto?
Yeah.
Was Umberto the H storm this year?
Yeah, I think so. So.
Yeah, it was the same kind of scenario where we had these systems doing what they were doing, and get if you look back at how everything has played out this hurricane season, and you look at how these storms, where they wound up and what they did, and what the surface maps and the upper air maps looked like, there's a rhyming similarity to them. That's why if you could figure out what the pattern's going to be, it's rare that you get a season where the pattern's all over the place and you get things happen in all sorts of different areas. Usually there's a rhyme to it, and this year it really played out that way in a big way. That's not to say that there aren't seasons where you get storms in all sorts of different places and there's no rhyme or reason to it, but a lot of times the pattern just tends to develop and then it just repeats itself. Not exactly, but you can see where the comparisons are. And here's our low. It's a pretty well wrapped up low here that starts to lift up by 2 a.m. The low is in northwestern North Carolina. Rain is moving through Pennsylvania and getting ready to move up into western New York. And by 5 a.m., the rain is on the doorstep of New York City. By 8 a.m., it's moving up into western New England, and you see where the primary low now in northern West Virginia. You see Melissa's on the southern end there, east of the Bahamas, they're kind of moving in tandem here, with the low inland low and the coastal low just kind of moving together in the same direction. And then up it goes, and you see how the European generates these bursts of yellow and red, areas of heavier rains. And when it looks like that, where it's sort of spotted, you can pretty well assume that we're talking convection in here. And it's going to be around tomorrow morning into the afternoon. And by 4 or 5 o'clock, the back edge is going to start approaching from the southwest. And then by 7 or 8 o'clock, it's going to be mostly done in New York City and points south and west, but still ongoing in eastern Connecticut and in southeastern New England. They get hit fairly hard if the European is correct. And then the low runs up into New England and intensifies, and now you got a tight pressure gradient for Friday. So my question is, Mr. Rayo, wind advisory or no wind advisory?
Well, I put that on the Facebook forecast I posted this afternoon. I said, first of all, tomorrow there looks like to be a marginal risk of some flooding issues for especially poor drainage areas. But on Friday, Halloween, which looks to be now mainly a dry day for the trick-or-treaters, the problem will be the winds gusting to over 40 miles an hour. If it gets above that, let's say 45 or 50, there could very well be a a wind advisory or some sort of a wind situation where the Weather Service will have to be on guard to put up some kind of a advisory for gusty, strong winds. So the winds certainly on Friday look to be a factor. They also look to be rather busy, though not as busy on Saturday. We may not actually see the wind machine get turned off or at least calm down enough until sometime on Sunday. So over the next several days, if it's not going to be the rain, it's going to be the wind out there.
Yeah, definitely, on the windy side on Friday during the day. And yeah, at least into Saturday morning. It relaxes slightly during Saturday afternoon, but there's still a gradient there. And you're right, it's probably not till Sunday that things really, calm down. And as far as the weekend is concerned, we have weak high pressure building in, slightly cooler air behind this front. Nothing especially cold. The coldest air is actually going to drop down into Kentucky and Tennessee and into Alabama. You see that the blue dashed lines of the 540 thickness. That's where that goes. The high ends up going off New Jersey. Now, there's going to be another low that's going to try to develop in the Gulf states or off the southeast coast, and you see it here come Monday. But that's going to get forced out because if you look to the north across southern Canada, you got a lot of westerly isobars. I mean, it's basically northwest winds from central Canada to New England, both at the surface and aloft. So that'll wind up getting suppressed. And if that's correct, the next week is probably going to be close to average temperature-wise, maybe a little slightly below average, and perhaps on the breezy side again come Monday night and Tuesday as that northwest flow takes over. But doesn't look like we're going to get much in terms of precip. There's a fast-moving system coming down from central Canada into western New York with maybe some showers next Thursday, and then on it goes, and another high builds in behind it. So after this storm goes by, we don't have anything major to worry about over the next 10 days.
Right. I don't think. I think over the next 6 to 10 days, actually, after we get through tomorrow's atmospheric hemorrhage, if you will, of heavy showery rains and wind, I think I agree with you, Joe. The following days beyond that, through the next week or so, it looks to be rather dry. The front that's coming by on Monday might throw some clouds our way, but I don't expect any precipitation of significance to come out of it. And then we go back to a rather gusty, breezy, if not windy weather pattern, but dry conditions for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe even Friday of next week.
Well, we haven't looked at the polar vortex for a while, actually quite a while, and it is strengthening to some extent, which it always does during the fall months, and you see it there centered in the Arctic Ocean, closer to Siberia than it is to Greenland. And as we roll through the first couple of weeks in November, it gets pretty stretched out. That's kind of interesting to see. The overall state of the polar vortex is not a particularly strong one in the stratosphere. It's very early to draw any kind of even the slightest idea of what it means in the longer term. But if you want a cold winter, one of the things you'd like to see is a weak polar vortex in the stratosphere. So at least so far, that may very well be the case. Or if it's not weak, it's all stretched out the way you see it here. So that'll take us through the first couple of weeks in November, and we'll see where that goes. The latest on Melissa, which again is Bermuda bound. The Hurricane Center has it at 23.5 north, 74.8 west, which is just to the northeast of the southeastern Bahamas. And the top winds are 90 miles an hour. And now it's starting to crank along, Joe. North-northeast at 16. So it looks like Bermuda will see deteriorating weather conditions during Thursday. And then by 2 a.m. Friday, the hurricane is forecast to be about 50 to 60 miles north of the island. And if it keeps on going in that direction, they have it grazing Newfoundland on Friday night.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's the first one, the only one this year that's come anywhere close to Atlantic Canada.
Right, right.
And at that point, they have it post-tropical, which makes sense.
Yeah, I think much beyond. But actually, they slowed it down a bit. The earlier runs were having the storm really, move very quickly across the North Atlantic. And I mentioned to Renata, I said, gee, if it keeps going like that, by Tuesday of next week, the darn thing will be over Scotland. But now it looks like they've slowed it down. Who knows? They may even decide to say it is dissipating by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week before it even gets a chance to cross over to European waters.
Bobby Livingsworth wants to know if I'm working on my kitchen yet. And the answer is yes. And the answer is also that I can't cook. I got a refrigerator. I don't have an oven. I don't have a dishwasher. I've just got my fridge. So it's basically cold food and sandwiches unless I order takeout, which, I don't like to do because it gets rather expensive if you start doing it for every meal. So I'm just sort of making my way. I had a turkey sandwich for dinner tonight. So that was and I had
Turkey dinner.
I had chicken wings for lunch. So, but yeah, in fact, the electrician was here yesterday, so that's all done. Tomorrow they're coming to measure the countertops, and they said they'll have them in 2 weeks. And my appliances come next Friday. So by mid-November, I will have my kitchen all finished. So anyhow,
Good.
that is the status of my kitchen.
We're
If it was
hoping to
on
have a major
right,
we're going to have a major project here at Ranch Rayo next week. For ever since we moved into the house here in 2002, in the backyard where we had a gigantic kayak pool, there it was surrounded by, well, not surrounded. On one side of the pool, there were railroad ties making kind of a wall, and the wall was against the back lawn. And over the years, the railroad ties have gotten kind of deteriorated, and now it looks like a few of them are getting ready to come toppling down or toppling out. So we're planning, hopefully, that's why I'm hoping that the forecast for next week turns out okay, with dry weather basically. We're hoping to get the railroad ties replaced with a nice new stone wall, and that'll probably be a project that'll last a few days, but in the end, it should make it look a lot nicer than what it looks like out there right now.
this is I got a picture of it. So this is what my kitchen looks like so far. So there you go. You can see where the dishwasher is going to go. You see where the stove is going to go. You see where my fridge is. But all my cabinets are in. So the countertops, which are going to be quartz,
Now, do
they're
you have an
coming.
island?
And I have an island, yes.
Yes, same with us. Renata hates it.
Why? I love my island.
No, she wishes that it was something a little different. The island just gets in the way of things,
What
so to
does she
speak.
want? A peninsula? You know? Well, yeah, I
Well,
mean,
not only do we have the island, but I mean that's where the stove is or the oven is, and there's like an exhaust fan that's above it,
oh,
goes up
yeah.
to the ceiling or whatever.
Yeah,
That.
see, I can't do the exhaust, that I can't do that because I have these vaulted ceilings, if you see. So, I had an exhaust. I had an exhaust with with my old oven. It didn't really do any good anyway, and so I really never really used it. I just would open the doors and the windows whenever I was making a steak. I have electric on my island. I do. Some people put the cooktop on the island, and then they have the wall-in oven. But I'm getting a double oven, um, so there. And
Ruben Fairchild on the chat board says, "Please explain the voices, Rayo. Turkey dinner voice and Emma from St. Louis. Is that from that show Benny Jack? First of all, it's Jack Benny, probably the most famous radio and television comedian from the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. The turkey dinner voice was from a Warner Brothers cartoon starring Daffy Duck, and he goes up to. Yeah, do you remember this one, Joe? He goes up to a place, in the far north regions, And there were two guys. They look just like Yosemite Sam, and they're starving. They haven't had anything. They see Daffy, and they figure they're going to have a duck dinner. But finally, he convinces them to have a turkey dinner. And when he says, "Would you care for a turkey dinner?" and each one of them says, "Turkey dinner, turkey dinner," and he says, "Why, certainly." And he opens up a satchel, and out of the satchel comes this, 7-course turkey dinner. And as he's leaving, he says, I'll leave you, farewell." And he goes out. As soon as he leaves, the whole place is infested with mice. And before the two guys have a chance to even take a bite out of the turkey, they're all, chewing away on all of the dinner that Daffy had brought. And anyway, that's what that. And as far as Emma from St. Louis, I think I mentioned there was an episode of a Warner Bros. Episode, and Emma looked like Granny, the one who took care of Sylvester and Tweety, and she apparently had a lot of money. And Yosemite Sam was trying to get her to marry him so that he would have that money too. But every time he tried to get her to do that, somehow he got blown up. There was somebody would shoot him with a gun or blow him up with a bomb or something like that. The next cartoon in that series was one where Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam were running for mayor of a certain town, and Yosemite Sam had loaded a phone up with gunpowder or whatever. So when Bugs answers the phone, he's going to get blown up. But Bugs answers the phone and he says, "That wasn't for me. It was for you, Sam. It was somebody from St. Louis." And unless you saw the previous cartoon, you didn't realize that St. Louis was where Emma lived. And Susie says, "St. Louis, Emma, here's your Sammy boy." And he picked the phone up
Yes.
and blown up or whatever. So,
All right, Cecilia Hernandez, apparently you've led a bit of a sheltered life with respect to the double oven. So I'm going to show you what I mean by a double oven. Okay, so the basic standing oven has has your oven, and then they all have that drawer on the bottom. That's actually it's a warmer. Its main purpose is to when you make something and you want to keep it warm, you put it in that drawer. Nobody does that. Everybody puts their pots and pans in that drawer, or their pans and their baking pans. So instead of getting that, the what would be the warming drawer is what you see at the top. So that's actually a second oven. I can cook at two different temperatures. Like it cooks the stuff on the top, and then if I have like a big, something big like a turkey or a roast chicken, I can even put the roast chicken at the top. But something like a turkey, I would do that at the bottom, so I could cook the turkey and I could cook my sides all at the same time. So that's what I mean by a double oven. And the microwave is going to go on the top. They're a little more expensive than a standard oven. Not a whole lot more expensive, but they are a bit more expensive. But if you like to cook, and particularly if you're always cooking for, a big family or so, this is like perfect because you don't have to cook stuff ahead of time and, trying to, time things out and keep things warm. You can do everything at the same time at two different, some on the top and some on the bottom. And
and and who is going to be hosting Thanksgiving this year?
well, I'm assuming the way things are going, because I got Home Depot to do my kitchen, and I have to say, marvelous job. Just absolutely great. Everything's on time, very professional. Um, you know, I've had no hiccups, knock on wood, so far. And if everything times out, I'll have my countertops in uh, by the middle of the month. So, yeah, if that's the case, I'll be hosting Thanksgiving here. And by the way, that oven, the picture makes it look bigger. It's actually the same size as any standard oven. Okay, so it's not really that big. It's 30 inches. It's a standard 30-inch wide oven. So there you go. Ah, you have Burler Jeopardy tonight?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's roll.
Hang on, and we will get it, and all of you will get it too. Brother Jeopardy, tonight we're going to continue with average annual snowfalls in the following cities, and we will begin with Kansas City. Average annual snowfall for Kansas City, Missouri, Joe.
By the way, how many likes do we have? Because I can't see.
On my counter, it says 72.
Well, if you haven't done it yet, if you like the show, hit the like button. Kansas City, average annual snowfall. Uh,
Yes,
I'll I'll say 25.
just a little bit too much. Well, not a little bit. Yeah, it's a bit too much.
Well, Christina Pedia says 23.
Still too much.
Frank Scalera says 21.
Well, I can tell you this. We have a winner, and it's Miss Spallerite. 19.
Wow.
19 inches. And that's
All
there
those
you go.
winters in the 70s and 80s when it seemed like it always snowed there, you would think that their numbers would be higher than New York, but they're not.
Yep. How about Memphis
Memphis,
in good
I don't
old
know.
Tennessee?
4.
That is very, very close, Joe.
Patrick Darcy says 3.
And Patrick Dorsey gets the bell. I should have given Miss Spallerite the bell, too. This is for Miss Spallerite, and this is for Patrick Dorsey and his 3. So there you go. How about Milwaukee? It's a funny thing. We think whenever we see Minneapolis, we immediately think of Mary Richards as a TV
Yeah.
show. But Milwaukee, you know where Milwaukee was the home of, right?
Beer.
Happy Days.
Oh, Happy Days. That's right.
That's right.
They get lake effect to some extent there, at least whenever they have a northeast wind. So that's probably going to throw the numbers off to some extent. I'll say 44.
That's a pretty good guess. It's not quite enough, but it's a pretty good guess.
Well, Mrs. Scalera says 47.
That's an even better guess, but it's still not quite enough.
Rothmansky at 48 and Cardillo at 49.
Mr. Chuck, Mr. Chuck, you get it with 49. Congratulations. And since I mentioned Mary Richards and Minneapolis, how about Minneapolis? Average snow in Minneapolis.
Oh God. Uh, I'll say I don't want to go too high because it's funny up there because their winter months, some of the depth in the depth of the winter they don't get a lot because it's just too cold and all the storms pass way south. So I'll say 51.
Joe, this bell is for you.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I accept the bell ring with humility and grace.
And I know that you're a big fan of Sue Ann Niven, and there are a few
Oh, I
episodes that
love Sue Ann.
you would place at the top of the Mary Tyler Moore list. My favorite was in the very first season of Mary Tyler Moore, the election night blizzard, where they had a blizzard. It knocked out all the power, or it knocked out all of the teletype and phone lines, and they were up all night waiting for the results to come in on, somehow or other. I think Lou Grant went out in the snow to try to get the votes or whatever. And in the morning, they had Chuckles the Clown announce who was the new mayor of Minneapolis. But to me, that was the funniest episode I think that there ever was that first season episode, the election night episode. How about Nashville? Now, we just did Memphis and got 3. How about Nashville, Tennessee?
Nashville. Memphis is with 3. I know Nashville's number's not as high as you would think it would be, considering where it is. So I'll say 5.
Well, you know what, Joe? You get a second bell ring.
Well,
Ta-da!
I'm doing well tonight.
And now the bonus. This will be interesting to see how many people get this. Bonus is Montreal.
Oh, you know what? I don't have any idea. 75?
Actually, not a bad guess. It's up there, but it's not up there. That it's not. Let's put it this way. It's not. It's higher than 75.
Okay.
What I was trying to
But not as high
say.
as Kenny Salerno's 217.
217.
Right.
No,
Mansour Scalera's at 81.
that's very close. Not high enough, but it's very close.
Maggie P's at 83.
And Maggie P, congratulations, you get it. With 83, Rich Rothmansky at 89, and Krista Pedia at 78, Michael McGuire 81, but it was 83 for Montreal.
Okay, how many likes do we have now?
Let's see, my clicker or my counter says, I can update in a moment, it says 81.
Okay. Well, we're not going to stick around to wait for 100, so we'll probably pick it up from the folks that are going to watch the show on the replay. So I think we'll wrap it up at this point. So everybody,
Okay.
thanks for being here tonight. So we'll be here again tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget, we're going to be off this Sunday. So join us tomorrow. We'll set you up for the weekend. We'll take you through whatever's going on tomorrow evening with the storm system and cold front coming up the East Coast. And have a great night and a great Thursday. Nighty
See you
night.
tomorrow night, folks. Nighty night.